Okay, so welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Ibis Ripmo 29er. Before we get to that, I just want to talk about a couple of the other outlets I have as far as media goes. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You can just type in Urban Outdoorsman SoCal and my accounts will pop up. On those, I post a lot of pictures, some of the photography stuff I do, some videos that I take, surfing, mountain biking, stuff like that as well. So if you can hit those channels up, give me a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. One more thing before we get talking about the bike is obviously if you're watching these videos, hopefully you like these videos. I put in a lot of time and effort. As you can see, I'm always changing up the background. I'm trying to be a little bit more professional. Right now I'm actually, instead of what I normally would do, is I would record a lot of these videos on my Gopro because that was basically the only real camera I had. Now I've got a Canon EOS M50. I've got a Video Rode mic on there. I'm trying to make these videos more high quality. That was one of the big things. The reason why I started doing these is because I would see all these videos and as people doing like POV stuff and the video and the quality was just garbage, and I'm trying to get there. I'm getting there. Just give me more time. As this channel is growing, I can invest more money and do different things with the background. I can see I got a couple of surfboards in the background, hanging out my bike right now. So it's not like the main focus of the picture. But if you do like these videos, subscribe. I love it. I love when you guys subscribe. Hit the like button. Please smash that like button if you like the video. If you don't like the video, comment below. Tell me what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. Was it too long? I can tend to ramble sometimes. But I just like to have fun talking to you guys and letting you know my experiences. I'm not a professional. I just go out there just like anybody else. I'm amateur surfer, photographer, mountain biker. I just do this stuff because it's a lot of fun, and it's what I like to do. Okay, so now to the video that hopefully you clicked on and to watch about the Ibis Ripmo 29er. This bike, I'm not a huge fan of 29ers. The first real bike that I bought was a Trans 2? It was like a 2013. It was an actual 29er, and it was a lot of fun. I have had a great time on it, but ever since I switched to my Giant Rain, which is 27.5s, I tend to, most of the bikes that I've ridden, I've done reviews on, I like 27.5s. So I was a little hesitant to ride this bike, but I mean it's a really cool company. It seems like a really cool company. Anyways, I don't know any of the guys over there. But I wanted to give this bike a try. First of all, because, it looks super. I love that, electric blue. And with the orange accents, it's just looking at it, looks like a really cool bike. So I was able to test this bike out at a couple spots. I tried it out at Santa's Village. Santa's Village at Skypark. I rode it there a bunch. And I also did a test ride down in Portola Hills. I took it out on the Luge. So there's a lot of footage of me riding this bike on different trails. At Skypark, I did the Enduro Trail, I did the Mini Jump Trail, and I did the Pump Track. You've seen, if you've watched any of my videos before, I love, riding my bike down the Luge. I've ridden actually a bunch of bikes that I've reviewed down the Luge Trail, and it's a lot of fun. So I will, I'll put in the description below, if you want to skip those, I'll put the timestamps for each one of those runs. I'll put the timestamp to if you just want to fast forward and listen to me talk about the bike, give my impressions of it, my review of it, and we'll go from there. All right, I'm heading up the trail on the Ibis Ripmo. This is a mid to longer travel 29er. Very happy because it has XT brakes on it. Those guide brakes on the Giant Trans are just garbage. XT are definitely my favorite brakes. I want to try the TRPs, but that's another video. So I'm on the Ripmo 29er, like I said, cruising up the trail and see how it goes. This is my second bike of the day, so I'm going to be a little more tired than usual, or earlier. See how it pedals? Feels really good. Got the seat in a good spot. Alright, got a little clear trail now, so I can talk to myself and not sound crazy. Bike feels good. Fox suspension. This is a carbon frame with carbon wheels and carbon cranks, so it's going to be a lot lighter than the Chance I rode earlier. And this has the, I believe it's the XO1 drivetrain. These have wider tires though. This is a 2.5 in the front. And it looks like a 2.5 in the rear too. Maybe a 2.4. It's got a DHF in the front and the Aggressor in the rear, which is my exact tire setup on my bike. It's pedaling pretty good so far. Pretty sure this seat tube angle is steeper than the Trance. I feel really far forward, like directly above the cranks. These handlebars feel a little wider. These are probably 800s. The seat tube is so steep sitting on it, I feel like I'm almost in front of the fork stem. Feels good climbing now. Nice and smooth. I don't feel very little, if any, bob with the rear shock wide open. I'm not even in the eagle gear right now. We're just kind of cruising. Woo! Oh my God, this bike is fun. I'm on Sleigh Ride right now, a little warm up on the Ripmo. I'm so much more confident with XT brakes. This bike feels fun though, man. Oh, this bike feels so good. Pretty much the same suspension as the Trance. Just more of it. A little wider tire. Getting it a little hot there. Whew. Oh yeah, this thing is awesome. All right, hitting Comet Trail on the 29er Ripmo. See if I can remember when to switch into lower gears to get up the hills. Like right here. Oh, did I make it past the rock? I did.
Come on. First chunky section. Nice. So nice. I can make it. I can make it. Whew. Hopefully that wasn't poison ivy. Oh, just out of the rut. Bad dirt. Pretty good so far. Come on, baby. Nice and agile. Oh, that's a tough one. I didn't make that on the other bike either. Nice. My butt hit the back tire on that one. That was a good little drop. The bike ate it up though. Oh, come on, tire. Didn't slow me down enough there. Oh, piece of cake. I think I got a hill coming. Yep. Whew. Yeah! Damn, that drop is fun. That little guy checked up. I checked up the first time I did it too, though. Oh, come on, you got it. Came in a little too hot there. Yeah, this bike is awesome. Whew. And that's all she wrote. Oh, water. Offline a little bit there. Got so much air on that first jump. Holy shit. Didn't hit it. Oh yeah. Whew. Legs are getting tired. Woo! So much speed down that with a 29ers. All right, one more jump. Gotta clear it. I cleared it. Wow. I did not think I was gonna like this bike that much. I like this one even more than the Trans. That extra suspension. And I think the inline shock. There's just no bounce at all. Full wide open going uphill. You don't need to lock it out. One of the other main things that I noticed about this bike the first time I rode it is going uphill, not a real steep grade right now, but got the shock all the way open in the rear, and there's very little bob pedaling when you're pedaling hard up a steep grade. And then even when you're going over these small bumps, you can feel the shock working, but it's not like staying towards the bottom of the sag. Gets right back up to the top and stays nice and firm. A little downhill section here. Not downhill section, just a little downhill, I guess. Not super fast, not super crazy, just a nice little warm up. And then back to the uphill. And a bunch of wind in my face. So I'm on the last little climb up to the very high point of the luge, and it's mainly downhill from there. It's not climbing the way I remember it from Skypark. Apparently that trail is way too easy and deceiving. Now my bike has a 28 tooth chainring with the SRAM in the back. This bike has a 32 tooth chainring in the front with the SRAM in the back. So the only difference is the chainring. And the one big hill, part of the dirt climb on this, I had to stop in the middle of on this bike. I'm usually about 50-50 on my rein. Just depends on how tired I am. But I thought because of the steeper seat tube angle on this that I would just be able to power through it, which wasn't the case. So now I'm not sold on the climbing aspect of this Ibis. I mean, I'm sure it's the chainring has a little bit to do with it, but I thought because of the geometry it would make up for that, and it hasn't. So I don't know, I'll have to rethink it. We'll see how it goes. It should be fun. I mean, this is a really great trail to go down. So let's, all the shocks are open. I took a drink. I took all my pictures. And now I'm just rambling. This part right here, it's a little sketchy with all of the loose little rocks. And the fact that you're right up on the edge of the hill, a little bit of exposure. Did pretty good through that. Get a little pedal going right now. Whew. Just did this trail a couple days ago. Still don't have it memorized though. At least not like some of the trails that I do. That's a really exposed turn right there. This one is too, but there's a little bit more of a berm. Woo! A little far back there. Kind of feels like the bike is understeering a little bit. I'm getting a little high on some of the berms. That's always a fun section to go through. There's another big exposure right there on the cliffside. This one too. That's a fun little jump into that straightaway. Woo! Big rocks. Right in the middle of my line. Oh, I missed the big jump. Oh well. Woo. Gotta keep going. All right. Oh, come on. Switch it out. Whew. That sounded horrible. So I went through 12 gears in about 2 seconds. Get up there. All right. Felt pretty good. Was understeering a little bit. Got a little high on a couple of the turns. I think it's more of just a matter of getting used to it, because I did better on it near the bottom end a little bit, you know, expecting that. Whew. Felt pretty good. Was understeering a little bit. Got a little high on a couple of the turns. I think it's more of just a matter of getting used to it, because I did better on it near the bottom end a little bit, you know, expecting that.
All right, so let's talk about Ibis as a company to begin with. They're based out of Santa Cruz. I've heard really good things about them. I mean, you know, most manufacturers aren't really going to get very far if they have like a bad rep. So the bikes that Ibis makes, they only make carbon frames, no aluminum, which is kind of a bummer. I know it would make it a little bit easier to get into and maybe, you know, test out an Ibis bike if you can get one for, you know, maybe half the cost or 2/3 the cost of a carbon frame. But that being said, they do have some pretty affordable frames. Now, the Ripmo that I rode, they vary in price anywhere from $41.99 all the way up to $9,599. Now that's, you know, that's for like the XX1 build. That's for all of the upgrades as far as the rear shock, the front shock. That's, I believe that's carbon wheels, everything like that as well. But to get into the bike for $41.99, that has the NX drivetrain on it. It's pretty good as far as the competition goes. Typically for a carbon frame, you're going to look anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 on an entry-level bike. So pretty good price for the entry-level frame. So the warranty on the bike is for 7 years. And you know how companies like Santa Cruz and Giant have lifetime warranties on the frame. Now, typically, let's say the average consumer, yes, will probably have a bike for a really long time, you know, past 7 years. I mean, who knows how long you can keep a bike for nowadays. It just depends on how hard you ride it. And if you're the type of rider that's really riding a bike hard, I mean, like, you know, you're doing black diamond and double black diamond trails, and you're going out to like Moab and Sedona and places like that, and you're doing just crazy trails, you're probably not going to keep a bike for more than 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 at the most, because by, you know, after that, there's so many advancements as far as geometry and, you know, just everything on a bike that maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years at tops. So do you really need a lifetime warranty on your frame? maybe for the average consumer, but like I said, if you're really pushing these bikes hard, you're probably gonna sell it, trade it, or it's just gonna collect dust on your shelf after maybe 3 or 4 years. So the way we're gonna break down this video is in 4 parts. The first part is gonna be initial feel, like how do you feel when you first sit down on the bike? Does it fit to your body? Is it the right size? That kind of thing. Secondly is how it feels pedaling uphill. Third is going to be how the bike feels going downhill. And then fourth is going to be kind of like my overall opinion of the bike and review. Just to let you know that all of the bikes that I rode in this video were all demo bikes. So I had these a short amount of time. I feel with the number of bikes that I've ridden that I do have kind of a good understanding of how some bikes are going to work, some bikes aren't going to work. And also it depends on how you like to ride these bikes. So just to let you know, throw that out there that this is a limited amount of time that I did have on these bikes. Okay, so the initial feel. How do you feel when you first sit down on a bike? Now, assuming you're on the right size frame, right? Because that can make a huge difference. And it depends on, obviously, your body dimensions. Do you have super long arms or do you have really short legs? You have to get on the right size frame. And then you can kind of make minor adjustments here and there. But when you first sit down on the bike, does it feel really well? Now, do you want to sit down low in this bike? Is it like an enduro bike? Do you want to sit up high because it's a cross-country bike? I typically like enduro bikes. I haven't come across really a cross-country bike that I've really liked yet. So when I sit down on the bike, I'm going to sit down in it. I'm going to sit down super low. Not super low, but I'm going to sit down low in this bike. And this bike felt really good. Now, the only other thing that is kind of it's kind of weird to my eye is the 29er tires. The 29er tires look like wagon wheels. And, I know it's just a matter of getting used to looking at it. And it just kind of, I don't know, it's just weird to my eye when I sit down on a bike with 29ers. But that being said, the bike has Fox suspension on it, which I love. It's got the Fox 36 in the front. This bike, I believe the one that I rode at Skypark had the DPX2 in the rear, which is, my favorite rear shock. And I sat down on the bike and it felt really comfortable. The reach was good. It wasn't too short. It wasn't too long. The seat angle is fairly steep. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Talk about some numbers and stuff. But the bike felt good. Just that initial sit down and feel. It gets down to even the feel of the grips. Do the grips feel good? Most grips feel okay. Just for instance, like when I rode the pivot bikes, those grips that they put on the pivot bikes are garbage. Those things feel weird and whatever. But the Ripmo felt great, initial feel. Now, comparing some of the geometry to what I'm used to, my bike that I ride on a daily basis, a Giant Rain, it's a pretty slacked out enduro bike. It's got 27.5 tires. So there is going to be a little bit of a difference just in that. But I mean, that's what you base everything on, is when you're trying a new bike, does it feel better than your old bike? Does it feel better than your new bike? So let's say, for instance, the seat tube angle. The seat tube angle is very steep on this Ripmo. The seat tube angle is 76 degrees. I'm looking at my notes. The head tube angle is 65.9 degrees. So that's pretty slacked out. I mean, it's my Giant Rain, the head tube angle is 65. So this is only 0.9 degrees steeper. So it's going to feel, it's going to feel back, and it's going to put you in the back part of the bike. So when you're going downhill, it's going to feel really good. A couple of other things like the wheelbase. The wheelbase on the Ripmo is very close to the Rain. The Ripmo is what, 8 millimeters shorter. I mean, 8 millimeters, like a half inch. And let's see, the reach. The reach is almost identical to my Giant Rain. So, and I love the way my Rain feels. So I sat down on this bike and it felt very similar to what I'm used to, and that's great because I like what I'm used to. But there's always, things to change up and make it better. So a couple of the components on the bike were very similar to mine. Same drivetrain, had the SRAM GX drivetrain. Same tire setup, actually. It had the Maxxis DHF in the front and the Maxxis Aggressor in the rear. Very similar tire sizes. I think it had a 2.5 in the front and a 2.3 in the rear, where I have 2.5 and 2.5. Let's see, what else? The couple of small things that were different was this actually had the Shimano 4-piston brakes. I have the 2-piston XTs, and it also had the Fox dropper post. Now, I like the Fox dropper post. The problem is that the stock Fox dropper lever is horrible. I mean, it's tiny. It's smaller than my pinky, and I mean, I have pretty big pinkies, but still, it's tiny. Whereas my race face lever is huge, and it fits my hand really well, and it's easy to find. Whereas the Fox dropper post the lever is just so tiny. It's just garbage. I don't like it at all. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is climbing, and the main reason why I'm looking for something better than my giant rain is because I love my rain going downhill. It's just not so great going uphill. So climbing this bike. Now, granted, this bike, the geometry is very close. The head tube angle is very close to mine. But the biggest difference is the seat tube angle. The seat tube angle is 3.5 degrees steeper than my bike. And what that steeper seat tube does, and I've talked about this in a lot of my videos, the steeper seat tube, so it's getting closer to a 90 degrees, right? So 76 is here, 73 would be more slack, right? So the closer you get to 90 degrees, it's going to bring your hips to a straighter line above where your cranks are. Now, the closer you get your hips to the cranks, right, in a vertical line, the more you can push straight down with your legs. So you're not reaching out in front of you like a recumbent bike. You're pushing straight down, and when you're pushing straight down, you're going to use more of your quadricep, which is the biggest muscle in your leg, and you're going to be able to put more power into each pedal stroke. Now, this bike, like I said, 76.5 degrees is very steep for this is kind of like an all-mountain, maybe a little bit of kind of an enduro bike a little bit, but it's great. And what I noticed when I was riding the bike at Skypark is, I mean, this bike it almost felt like an e-bike going uphill. Now, obviously, I was only taking the easy trail up to the top of Skypark, so it wasn't very steep. It's not very long. It's maybe like a 5 to 10 minute ride, depends on how slow you go. But it felt great going uphill. A couple of times, like when I was on the enduro, trail, it felt really good pedaling uphill. Obviously a little bit better, not obviously, but it felt better than my bike pedaling uphill because of that steeper seat tube angle. So another thing I noticed is that with that DPX2 shock in the rear, I had the brake full open. I didn't lower the compression. I didn't change anything like that. Rode the bike all day long, and when I was when I rode the Luge as well. Now there is some really steep hills, not really steep, but there's a good climb to get to the top of the Luge trail. And I had the shock full open the whole way, and there's little to no bob at all when you're pedaling uphill. Typically, if your rear shock is too squishy, the back end of your bike is doing this, and when it's doing this, you're losing some of that effort that you're putting into the bike because you're not stretching your leg out all the way. The bike is, too low in the sag, and it just screws you up when you're going uphill. My giant rain bobs like you're on the ocean. It's crazy. Whereas this bike, with that shock, with the steeper seat tube angle, felt great. And when you're going over like little bumps, you feel, obviously you feel the shock going up and down. But once it's done absorbing that little bump that you go over, it pops, it almost kind of slides back up, and it stays in the top part of that travel. So you're not sagged down real low. Your seat stays high enough. So you're getting full leg extension. You're pushing straight down with your legs because of the steep seat tube angle. And it feels really good climbing uphill. So now we're going to talk about downhill. And downhill, this bike at Skypark, it felt really good. One of the things that a lot of manufacturers are doing now is before the 29ers, now 29ers go straight really well because you have a larger rim diameter, and that puts more of the tire. It kind of creates, like if you're going over a rock and if you have a gap, right, the longer that tire is, the diameter of that tire, it's going to roll over easier. Whereas if you have a shorter diameter tire, it's going to kind of fall into those little gaps, going through rock gardens, stuff like that. So, and it puts more of the tire on the actual ground, you know, the contact pad. So better traction as well, right? But the problem is that before, manufacturers, the fork offset was too high on the 29er tires, or the 29er forks. The fork offset used to be anywhere from 51 millimeters up, who knows, to whatever, right? Now, one thing that Ibis has done, and a couple other companies, is they've shortened that offset. So the offset is, if you have the line of the fork coming straight down, the offset is where the center of the rim is. Now they've shortened that to bring it closer to this line of the fork. And what that does is it decreases your turning radius. So when you're in switchbacks or you have to make a quick turn, with that shorter offset and the 29er tires, it's now going to get around that turn quicker. Not as quick as a 27.5 tire, but it is going to be quicker as compared to like just a couple years ago when they had that longer offset. And so, like, say for instance, when I was doing the cross country trail, right, there's a bunch of switchbacks. You go back and watch the video. There's actually a couple like little chicane turns and some real tight. You're kind of like, you know, the front tire is dropping as you're going through some quick little spots. And previously on 29er, you know, on bikes with 29-inch rims, that was, I mean, it wasn't impossible. I mean, for me, it was more difficult, I should say. Whereas, I mean, you know, a pro can do whatever he wants with whatever he has, right? Talking about, you know, Joe Schmo, you and me, just, you know, the guys that go out there just to have fun. The shorter offset makes it a much more nimble bike. Now, like I said, it's not as nimble as a 27.5, but they're getting a lot better. And then, you know, going off of jumps, anytime you're going in a straight line, 29ers are going to kick ass. I mean, they it almost seems like they kind of, like the faster you go, the faster it goes. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you're going straight, you're doing rock gardens, you're doing jumps, these 29ers just fly. And it feels really good, you know, going down stuff like that. And it's getting a lot better when in the tight stuff. So this bike did really good. You know, I had a lot of fun on the jump trail. What is that? Arrow trail. It felt really good on the cross country trail. And, you know, it did an amazing job. All right, so overall, how do I feel about this bike? I feel that if I had the money, like if I had unlimited funds, right, I would keep my rein. And if I really was going to buy a 29er, the 29ers that I've ridden so far, I've ridden about 3 or 4. This Ibis Ripmo is definitely my favorite. It felt really good. You know, the Fox suspension is I think better than the RockShox. Well, that's a whole other video. It felt really good. Like I said, the initial feel was great. It climbed really well. It climbed better than my bike going up a lot of the hills. It went down the trails, like the Luge trail and the cross country trail there at Skypark, as good as my bike, maybe just a little bit less, you know, in the tight stuff and the tight turns. But overall, like, you know, so you give up a little bit in those tight turns, but it's faster over the rock gardens, that kind of stuff. So you give a little bit, but you gain a little, you know, you gain a lot more as far as the rock gardens and that kind of stuff goes. So it felt really good. And if I was going to go today out, you know, if I was going to go out and buy a 29er, I would buy this bike. It's, first of all, like I said before, it's electric blue. It's got the orange accents. It's really cool. I mean, I really like the coloring of the bike. You know, it's got Shimano brakes. You know, it comes with Maxxis tires. It comes with the right type of drivetrain, the SRAM drivetrain, which I love. And it's got a lot of the stuff on it that I like. It feels really good going uphill. I mean, it feels great going uphill. It feels really good going downhill. I wish it had a little bit more, but you know, if I wanted a little bit more travel in the rear, I could just go up to the Mojo HD4. But that's 27.5, and actually that's going to be my next video that comes out. But the Ripmo is a great bike. I really liked it. It's probably, if I had to rate, I've done, I don't know how many bike reviews, 10 to 15 bike reviews. It would probably be top 4. I don't know. It's definitely top 5. I would have to, you know, really think about what my top 3 would be. It's definitely top 5, probably like right around the 3rd or 4th spot. So it's a great bike. It's a good company. You know, a lot of the guys out there that I've been working with, you know, when I was at the demo, the guy there was awesome, and I would definitely recommend this bike. Okay, so thanks for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. Something you can do to help me out would be to like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Also, what you can do is click on one of these boxes up in the corners here. One's going to send you to my rides playlist. Another is to a most popular video. And always, you click on the logo in the center, the Urban Outdoorsman SoCal logo, to subscribe. Thanks a lot.